Hey guys, welcome back to the Ace of Plays channel. For today's video, I'm just gonna go over the new leaders and leader reworks that we got to see yesterday on the developer patch overview for patch 7.2. I'm gonna go over each new leader, or each reworked leader, because some aren't new, but they're still changed. And just, talk about my opinions. A lot of people have already spoken about their opinions. I mean, if you go on Reddit, you can see Monsters is dead again. It seems. But, as with... Jesus. As with a lot of what I do on this channel, of course, my focus here will not be on competitiveness or playability, but more on just whether or not I like the designs, whether I think they can be fun, if they're interesting designs, or if they're just, plain boring, or poor designs, or they're going to be stupid. There's going to be one of those, if not two. NR. Anyway, let's just get into it. The first one is Carapace, or Carapace, or Carapace, or... I don't know, it looks like an Italian word, but I have no reason to actually think it is. It has been changed to now have 3 charges, and instead of giving shield, it gives a veil. I think it's still boosted by 3, so that's still the same, but it now gives veil, and it has an extra charge. This ability is a lot better now, right? Because it's worth 9 points plus a fairly good keyword. Veil has turned out to be a fairly decent keyword, and it can definitely make sense in monsters. Protecting something from poison. You can just protect an engine from locks. It can be very helpful, and it's not worth 9 points in total, and which is not as much as some other leaders, but taking into consideration that it's spread over 3 charges, it does have a keyword attached to it, and it is a good keyword. It's one that actually matters, so there's not much to say. It's still a defensive ability for monsters. Remains to be seen if they need it. I guess the new ethereal rework will be a bit more playable with something like this, because it can't be locked, and you'll put it up to 7, so it's going to take a lot to kill it as well. But are monsters going to play this just to keep playing ethereal after it's not the best card in the game anymore? I don't know. Not super interesting, but it wasn't meant to be. It was meant to just be a buff to an existing ability, and I think they did do a good job of that. It's definitely better. It definitely seems playable now, and maybe it finally recaptures the spirit of old Eridan from Homecoming when it gave immune. This is not quite immune, but Veil is a lot more balanced version of immune, because it's immune to statuses, but it's not immune to other things. But boosting something by 3, it does make it very resilient, so it's way better now. I definitely think this is playable now. I personally can't think of anything I would play with this, but there are a lot of cards that, with a 3 boost and Veil can become fairly playable in monsters. Cards that are a bit more risky. So I'll definitely look into it. But for now, all I have to say is, good buff. I think it's definitely playable. But we'll see what types of decks this will bring out. Alright, moving on to Force of Nature. This used to buff a unit in your hand by 8. Now it spawns and plays Woodland Spirit, who is a 9 strength relic token with no further ability. You can look at this and say that it's very plain. It's literally just a big boy with no ability. Is this what monsters needed? No. I don't think so. Could it have been more interesting? Could it have had an extra layer? Of course. But am I the only one who just sees a lot of charm in the fact that your leader can just be another big dumb boy? I don't know, with this last meta, this last season, I've grown very fond of big dumb boys again. Maybe because I am one. I'm a very big, very dumb, very boy. But I don't know. I look at this and I think it feels so relaxing. Like that's my takeaway from playing like Nova Thrive, which is big dumb boys. It's relaxing because there's just no thinking. You just play on that beautiful Thrive curve, and then you start slamming big boys. Like everything is just big and does nothing. It's just big. It's a very relaxing way of playing, and now my leader can be that. And 9 points, it will trigger all your thrives. Like, it's gonna be worth points. Like, my only concern is that, of course, we have Fruits of Isgith, which is a very, very powerful thrive leader. But this does have, it has extra provisions. It has a better short round. Like, it definitely has merits. It has reasons to exist. And there's something very comforting about just your leader just being a big dumb boy. So I am legitimately, like, I'm not being sarcastic here. I'm legitimately looking forward to playing this. Just slapping together all the big dumb boys, all the spear tips, all the dudes. Just bring them in. I don't know. It feels like it has enough merit to exist. And it does fit with a lot of what monsters are trying to do. Monsters do have, big dumb boys as part of their identity. So why not have a leader that's a big dumb boy? But regardless of how you feel about, this leader as it is now, one thing that I think a lot of people would agree with is that it's an improvement. I mean, Force of Nature saw no play. Like, you never wanted to boost a unit by 8. You don't want to do that. This, helps with dominance. It gives you an additional thrive trigger off your leader. And no, you're not going to use it to protect one of your units, but boosting something by 8 is too much. You're just playing into death at that point. So, I think it's a good change. It's an improvement. And I think it's cool. And I look forward to just relaxing and playing big dumb boys. Never having to worry about playing my leader for optimum value. I'll just play him when my boys are down, and he'll grow up my boys. Are you sick of me saying boys? As you can see, I'm recording from the developer patch overview video, so you can see like some YouTube stuff down here. But let's move on. Alright, so we also have White Frost. This is the only brand new ability, although Force of Nature is fairly new, but it kept its name, so it doesn't get a free pass on the newness. White Frost has 2 charges of moving an enemy unit to the other row and spawning frost on that row for 2 turns. So 2 turns of frost times 2 charges, that can be 8 points, right? And then you also have 2 charges of movement. I mean, that could be interesting. Movement is something that fluctuates in its necessity. But all in all, I think it's a good utility for Frost. Being able to move units can really help with setting up multiple Frosts and getting multiple values. Getting maximum value out of your Frosts. I mean, see, 8 points, gives 15 provisions, 2 movements. I mean, a lot of people are saying it's underwhelming, and you know what? I think I may agree. I think this may warrant some more provisions. Upping the charges to 3. Ugh. And obviously dropping the provisions, because at that point, we'd be talking 12 points of value and 3 movements. That is good. That is good. In many cases, that's a better guerrilla tactics. But, I don't know, I like it. Like, I was wondering what they would do with this, and adding movement to it, I think, is a nice way to just avoid it being just apply frost. You know, I think it's cool. I think it's alright. Maybe a bit underwhelming. But I think this has a place in the game as a frost leader. I'm not quite sure if it's gonna be the Wild Hunt's leader of choice. I mean, boosting by 3 and giving Veil 3 times could also be very good. But, I mean, we'll just have to see. I can see this being buffed in the future, in the near future, because it maybe won't live up to the developers' expectations for it, but we'll see. I like the design though. I think it's fine. Alright, moving on to Skellige. Now, I was definitely expecting to get a Mahakam Forge-like ability with this update. Like, I was really expecting at least one of them to be very similar. And this is it, Battle Trance. Spawn and play Mardrome on order, which, you know, the card is in front of you right there. We all know and love Mardrome. Whenever you play an alchemy card, heal a random ally unit by 1. The design itself, I really, really like. I think it's really cool. It's very much an alchemy-based leader, like healing, and, you know, you play an alchemy card. I really like it. And, you know, it has synergies with some cards. I mean, the heal is what's going to make or break this ability. Like, if people find good enough ways to get value from that heal, then this can be pretty good. I mean, that Mardrome just onto a Draco Turtle as a finisher, that's big points, and then you just get like incidental healing throughout the match. That can be really good. I mean, the thing is, like, you know, you look at this and you think, ah, self-wound. The problem is, I mean, you think self-wound, right? And you think Svalbard Priest. But the things that you want Svalbard Priest to hit, they don't require healing. Because either they just have armor, or it's Tursek Veteran who you don't want to heal because you want him to heal himself. So that synergy isn't quite there. But when you have long ships and you have the new Berserker guy who pings himself, and they will continuously give you like heal targets. So in that sense, you know, you can get some value. You can definitely get some value. But yeah, really, like getting value from that heal is what's gonna make or break this ability. I definitely like it. I haven't been able to like come up with a proper way to use this. I think Blue Boy Lugos could be a good one, because he's like the main thing, if not the only thing that you want to self wound and then also heal back up. So that could be a good use for this. And you know, Mardrome actually works pretty well with him, because you damage him by 3, but you get 2 of those points back because of his ability, and you boost him by 9. So like you do get a decent amount of points from that Mardrome on a Blue Boy. But I mean, you know, the more you go into self wound, like the more you start thinking about Ursine Ritual. Is it worth it cutting that for this? But I do love the design. I very much appreciate what they did with this. I hope we can come up with some form of archetype or deck that can utilize this enough that it's playable. If not, you know, just give it a buff. I wouldn't mind that. But Battle Trance definitely gets a thumbs up from me. I think it's very cool. I very much appreciate this type of design. I also love Mahakam Forge, which is a very similar design for dwarves. I'm a big fan of this. Hopefully it's playable. Alright, the second one we're getting for Skellige is Rage of the Sea. Order Spawn Rain on an enemy row for 1 turn, and a Deafening Siren on the opposite row. Charge 3. So you get the Siren, which is a 2-strength beast. The opponent gets 1 turn of Rain, which is going to damage 2 random units on the row by 1. And you can do this 3 times. So with optimum value, this plays for like 12. plus any Bloodthirst synergy. You know, Wild Boar of the Sea is something people are really afraid of with this. I don't see how a few incidental ticks of rain is gonna make Wild Boar of the Sea broken with this. I could be wrong. Like I'm not the most analytical player, so you know I don't see stuff like that as easy as others. But I don't see that. I don't see this making Wild Boar insanely way more broken than it already potentially is. Now, if you're like me, when I first saw this, you may be thinking of Greatswords. But they did get a change. Like, I'm not going to go find it here, but they're now 6 provisions, 10 strength, deploy, damage self by 5, and then they heal themselves for 1 whenever an enemy gets damaged. So it's pretty much the same card, except it works kind of in reverse, almost. Well, not reverse, but it has a limit. It has a ceiling. Because it's heal instead of boost. But it can still be worth a lot of points. It still works with this, but it's not like super OP, like old Greatswords would probably be with this. What else? Deafening Siren is a beast, so for Beast Swarm, this works. For Axel 3 Eyes, and if you can purify them, then you know Flaminica likes that. So you know, my Purified Beast deck did lose Sacrificial Vanguard, which is a very sad loss. But maybe we can use this. We'll have to see. But for now, we're going to move on. Rage of the Sea. Not super interesting in my opinion. I'm a bigger fan of Battle Trance, but it seems more outright playable at least. You know, Battle Trance, you really have to like figure out a neat little trick to make it work. I mean, this is just playable. Rain is good in Skellige. It makes for easier Bloodthirst. It's very good. Alright, Northern Realms. This is the faction I was the least interested in. Which says a lot because Syndicate is here. So Mobilization now spawns a copy of a Bronze Allied Soldier. And boosted by 3. Let's see, spawn a base copy. So it's not spawn and play. You spawn it on its rows. Ugh, if they're specifying row. I mean, I didn't notice this yesterday when I saw this, but spawning on its row, that means you're not getting deploy. So this can't even be used with Royal Guards? So, I mean, it no longer thins your deck. It no longer has that requirement that you have to have it in your deck. But it's not only soldiers, so you know you can't trigger siege quicker, which I think is a good thing. But I mean the fact that it only works with soldiers makes it really boring, and the fact that it apparently you don't even get to use it with deploys. I mean, what could you do with this? I mean, I'm sure there's something. It still works with Royal Guards, but you really want that deploy. I can't really think of anything. Drummers, Temerian infantry, stuff like that. I don't know. It became a lot less interesting. Like it's fine, but I don't really see myself playing this too much. It's like but if it is summon. If it's summon and not play, then it wouldn't trigger siege anyway. So yeah, honestly, if this is gonna summon and not play, as it looks like here, they should just cut the soldier requirement. But if it does play, then you keep the soldier, but at least you have more options. But if it only summons and it's only soldiers, like that just limits it too much. Like I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. I hope they change it somehow. Pincer Maneuver. Draw an NR card of your choice. Then shuffle a card from your hand back into the deck if the drawn card was a unit boosted by 5. So this is very much just a hand fixing ability now. You can draw any NR card you want. And you can shuffle, you know, if you drew like a bad card in round 3 or you drew like a brick, You can just shuffle it back. And if the card you drew was a unit, you boosted by 5. So of course you get Prince Anseis, you boost him by 5. Boom. You win. I'm sure there are other uses. I'm sure there are. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I like the drawing a card and shuffling it back. Shuffling another card back. I like that. And, you know, they had to put some points on it. It doesn't really work with non-units, which I don't know if that's going to be a little bit boring. I don't know. They don't have that many non-units. But I mean, you're really incentivized to use it on units only, which makes the freedom of choice just a little bit less interesting. But I mean, it's fine. It's not the worst offender here. Alright, speaking about the worst offender, Shield Wall. 3 charges of boosting an ally unit by 2 and giving it a shield. You know, you can look at this and think, yes, shield archetype and our shields, King Ragnar. And that is all true. And that is all good. But then you think, Prince Anseis. And suddenly this is potentially the most oppressive leader in the game. A lot of people are complaining already, including me. But I always complain, so, you know, that's not that big of a deal. But, the 2 boost and the shield, you know, you get it on Anseis to kill anything you want for big points. You put it on a Stranger to put her to 6 with a shield. She's gonna be so safe. What else? Visigoda? You know, with Pincer Maneuver changed, maybe he's not gonna see as much play. But with this, he's going to be fairly safe. Not entirely safe, but fairly safe. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this. Like, I've seen people suggest giving Anseis Veil, so he can't actually get a shield. I would like that. I just... Like, the ability is fine until you think of Anseis, and it's just like, come on. A 6 strength shielded duel, who you can boost more if you need to, fairly easily. That's a big no-no for me. I'm not a fan of that. Like, I've been sick and tired of NR this past season, and that's not going to change. But let's move on to more fun things. Skellige, a faction that has grown on me more and more over time. Call of Harmony now spawns and plays Dana Medbe, who is a 6 strength relict with Harmony. Now, the fact that she has Harmony doesn't matter too much, although it does actually have a very good use. What's really interesting is that she's a relict, which is a unique tag. It's like your leader will now trigger all your Harmonies. Right? Like, that's what's really interesting about this. It's a unique tag. Like, no other way can you get a Skellige relict. So, when you play her, she's going to trigger all your thrives. What you can also do is play her early. You know, Waters of Broccolon into this. You get 3 Harmony engines in 1 turn. It's not quite double Waters, but in return, they're more protected. Like, you still get 16 points. You just have 1 less unit, so, you know, over a long round, it will be worse than double Waters. But I mean, in a short round, it's not going to matter too much. And of course, you do have the flexibility of being able to play her last if you want and trigger all your Harmonies. But I mean, I think this is just a better way of doing the double Waters thing. Because it is weaker. Not by a lot, but it is weaker. And they have reverted the Harmony nerf, so Harmony is back to normal, but no more double Waters. Instead, they have this. I mean, I can see this bringing it back to pretty much the same power level as double Waters, in which case, tone it down a little bit, please. But it's a way more interesting, more fun way to have that thing happen. The thing where they have a lot of engines. It's a bit nicer, a bit healthier. I like it. All right, Nature's Gift. When I was thinking about what they could do with this, I did think that maybe they could give it symbiosis. Putting a keyword on a leader is such a neat idea, and it works with symbiosis because it doesn't really affect the thing that has symbiosis. Like, it's not like it boosts a unit with symbiosis, because then you couldn't have it on the leader. You can't have assimilate on the leader. But this you can have. And this is cool. Now, the 3 charges of Vitality 2, that's just nice. Like, you can protect your stuff a little bit. Works well with Hamadryads because they have that double engine thing where if they have a Vitality, they boost self by an additional 1. And then they also have Symbiosis. But this is very nice. I mean, just the Symbiosis alone, I mean, it's very reminiscent of Araka Swarm and Lined Pockets, you know. Play cards, you know, play special cards of your faction's type, and get an extra point from your leader. I mean, that's exactly what this does. But it makes those nature cards a lot more impactful. You know, maybe their Echo card will see play now because it'll always be worth an extra point with this. But maybe we'll have to see. As for the design, this is probably my favorite. Just because it's a keyword on a leader. I think that's fantastic. Like, they had the opportunity and they took it. And, you know, Vitality 2, 3 charges is nice. It makes it a little bit worse than Imperial Formation. But it has Symbiosis instead of the whole soldier on top thing. Which I think, you know, definitely evens it out. And you can use it to protect, you know, your what are they called? Young Dryad? At least putting them to 3, I mean, that makes them usually demand actual removal instead of just a 2 ping. So, this can make a difference. Symbiosis is cool. I hate my hair. Moving on. Probably my favorite. Nature's Gift. So good. Alright, Nilfgaard did actually get one of the other more interesting ones. Tactical Decision now spawns and plays Morvan Voorhees, who's a human soldier. Not an aristocrat because that would allow them to trigger Chapter 1 of Double Ball or Single Ball. Any ball. And, you know, CDPR, they don't want that because they know that's bullshit. But he's a very interesting card. 6 strength. Deploy, draw up to 3 cards, then put the same number of cards on top of your deck. The up to 3 cards, that's just there to... I mean, that only affects you if you have 8 cards in hand, you can only fit 2 more. He'll only draw you 2. But as long as you have 7 or less, he will always draw 3 cards. And you get to choose the order in which you put them back on top. So if you have like Afan, you can put him at the very top, so he'll come out. And then you can have like your Wakim target second, so that'll be ready. And then, you know, you can definitely do some interesting things with this. Now, what I like about this is just, it's like the ultimate hand fix. Like, I feel like Nilfgaard can play some really greedy decks now with a lot of low provision units, or cards in general. And a lot more high cost cards. And then use Morvan to just, you know, drastically increase the chance of drawing a lot of the good ones, and then just putting some trash ones back. That's just the way I see it. Like, this is the ultimate hand fixer. It's like, you know, discard, rest in peace, where you play a lot of trash cards and then a lot of expensive cards, and you just discard the trash to draw into the good stuff. I mean, this is very similar to that. Like, you just draw like up to 3 good cards, and then you just put like battle preparations back in your deck. And, you know, if you have Afan, then this will work with that. So Imperial Formation just lost Afan exclusivity, I'd say. Although it's more guaranteed Formation, of course. Here you have to draw him. Which is kind of a bad thing. But this makes it less of a bad thing. It's very cool though. It's a very like... It's really cool. Very fitting with tactical decision. And it's very nice. And he is a soldier. So if you have crossbowmen, he will trigger them. He just won't trigger the ball. Which is good. I'm a big fan of this though. It's like, it's Nilfgaard without being a dick. It will trigger Assimilate. Like, I'm not sure this is going to be what Assimilate needs. But it will trigger Assimilate. So it's like double cross, except you know what you get. And you can be really goddamn greedy. Which I do like in Assimilate. Huh. Alright. Imprisonment. Order. Lock an enemy unit and damage it by 3. Charge 2. I mean, you can look at this and say, oh, it's so typical Nilfgaard, just more locks and damage and control, it's so boring. Yeah, but you gotta look at this and you gotta think, like, it's only 6 points plus whatever the locks will get you. It's only 2 locks. You know, against a greedy engine deck, this will be worth a lot, but then it'll get really, really screwed up the bumhole against, you know, more point slammy decks where locks don't matter. Like, it'll be worth squat against those decks. So it's... I think it's a good design for a control-based leader. And, you know, I like that it's just more straightforward. Like, it's not seizing your dude. It's just, it's locking him and, you know, hitting him for 3 damage. It's a bit simpler, you know? Like, I can get locked. I can get damaged by 3. I can have that happen to me twice. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But it can be very good in locked decks, which, you know, may be a thing now. They at least have a leader for it. It's not super interesting, but, you know, it gets a job done. And maybe it's a good job. I think it's fine. I don't think imprisonment makes Nilfgaard more annoying. I honestly don't think an ability like this, you know, surpasses what the faction is already doing. So I don't really care too much about the annoying aspect of this. I say that, but I'm gonna be pissed off when I play against it because I play a lot of greedy decks. But it's alright. And Imperial Formation lost the charge. I mean, that's it. Gained the provision, lost the charge. Overall, I'd call it a nerf. But, you know, being able to fit some better cards in is good. 3 charges is usually enough to protect, like, a Damien, a Stefan, and something else. Maybe a Letho if you want to go super greedy. It still does what it does fairly well. It still does the same thing. It's just... it's a bit less points. But it got a provision, so I think it's a neat way to change it. Alright, coming up last is Syndicate. They only got 1 leader changed. Wildcard became Pirate's Cove. Spawn a Sea Jackal on an allied row, then gain 4 coins. So the idea with this was that Syndicate has a lot of leaders to just gain you coins. Which is true. And, you know, some Syndicate decks have like a problem where if they don't draw a spender, then all their coins are shit. So they made a leader that gave you a spender and some coins. And you know what? I think it's okay. I mean, this can be good as like a Syndicate for beginners kind of thing. So for me, because I'm not good at playing Syndicate, yeah, this will make it a little bit easier. And of course, yes, it allows you to mulligan away street urchins and other sea jackals. So you don't have to keep a 4 provision card in your hand just to be able to get value from your cards. Like that's a valid concern that they're trying to address. And you know, Sea Jackal outside of Hidden Cache, which obviously you can't play with Pirate's Cove, is just a very meh card. Like, I think it's good. I think it's fine. I mean, this leader itself is not doing much. You know, it's like 8 points, right? Plus whatever you can squeeze out of that horde. Or if you use the coins for something worth more points, then that's also good. I do think it's okay though. Like, I think the design is okay. It's decent. This is a leader that makes sense to exist in the game. It will never surpass Hidden Cache. So it doesn't really matter. I like it though. I like it. But I mean, is it what Syndicate needed? I'm not sure. I feel like it's something that new players trying Syndicate may need, but Syndicate itself, you know, has Hidden Cache and therefore needs no other leader. That's very much the curse of Syndicate. They always have, there's that one leader that just does everything better. Which makes sense because all of their leaders essentially do the same thing. Make money. Yeah, but Hidden Cache just lets you, you know, use that money with really, really good engines at a very, very cheap cost. But I don't know. I don't mind this. It's not special. I mostly just like it because it removed wildcard from the game and I hated wildcard. So hey, good on ya, Pirates Cove. You're the hero I didn't know I needed. Anyway, that is it for all the new leaders. I hope you enjoyed watching me talk about them for way too long. What did you think about them? What is your favorite leader? Which ones do you really not like? Do you agree with my concerns about the NR shield ability? Are you a fellow fan of big dumb woodland spirit? Let me know down below. And I hope to see you again tomorrow for, you know, gameplay videos from the new patch using new leaders. I don't know where I'm going to start. Let me know where you want me to start. Like, I'm leaning heavily towards either big dumb boys or symbiosis, something like that. I think the Skellige leaders I'm going to need some more time to test some decks out for, but we'll see. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. And I'll see you tomorrow for patch 7.2. The start of a new era of Gwent, where no one can ever play 2 cards in 1 turn again. I love it. I mean, that's the best part of this. Those leaders are out of the game. Yes! It's so good. Have a good one.